WNBA PA discussing a moratorium proposal that would apply to an upcoming league business. They came out, they said, you know what? We're under a moratorium here. Let's start sending out qualifying offers to.
What if the single greatest opportunity of your professional life was laid out right in front of you? A contract so transformative it promises to not just change your career, but your entire life, offering a level of wealth and security you've only dreamed of. We're talking about a pay jump that would fundamentally rewrite your family's future. The chance to finally stop living paycheck to paycheck, to quit the grueling, body-breaking overseas grind, and to be valued at a level that reflects your talent. Now, what if the person telling you to turn it all down, to walk away from that life-altering money, was someone who already had their millions secured? What if she wasn't just a veteran player asking you to stand in solidarity, but the co-founder and owner of a brand new rival basketball league? A league that stands to gain, big time, if your own league gets dragged into chaos and a work stoppage. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the unbelievable reality facing every single player in the WNBA right now. As the league and the players' union negotiate a historic new collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, the players are being urged by their own union leadership to hold the line and reject a deal that would shower them in life-changing money. And a key voice in that push belongs to a star player who is simultaneously building her own basketball empire. This isn't just a labor negotiation anymore. It's a high-stakes game, and the central question everyone should be asking is simple: is this a righteous fight for a better deal for all, or is it a cynical double game designed to benefit a powerful few at the expense of the many? The real story is far more complex than you've been told, and tonight we're going to unravel it. To really get how wild this situation is, you first have to understand the monumental leap in pay the league has put on the negotiating table. The old WNBA pay structure is, to put it nicely, seriously outdated. In 2025, the supermax salary a top-tier veteran could earn was just under $299,000. The minimum salary for a player with less than 3 years of experience was a paltry $66,000. These are the best female basketball players on the planet, and many are earning less than a first-year marketing associate. This financial reality has forced a brutal tradition on the players: the off-season overseas hustle. For decades, the majority of WNBA players have spent their off-season not resting, but flying to Turkey, Russia, or China to play for another team, working 2 full-time, high-impact jobs just to make a good living. It's a cycle that leads to burnout and career-threatening injuries. Now enter the new proposed CBA. The numbers are, without exaggeration, staggering. The league's latest offer represents a complete paradigm shift. Under this proposal, the maximum base salary would jump to a guaranteed $1 million in 2026. But that's just the start. With revenue sharing, that number for top players could swell to over $1.3 million in the very first year. That's not a raise. It's a redefinition of what a top female athlete can earn. But maybe the most transformative part of this deal isn't for the superstars, but for the rank-and-file players. The average salary is projected to explode to over $530,000 in 2026 alone. And the minimum salary? That would leap from about $67,000 to approximately $250,000. Let's just let that sink in. A player who was previously in a precarious financial spot would suddenly be earning $250,000 guaranteed. That's the difference between renting an apartment and buying a home. It is, for the first time, the arrival of real financial security for most players in the league. The deal also reportedly includes things players have been demanding for years: 5-star hotels, upgraded medical services, and a commitment to charter flights. The league is essentially responding to the massive surge in popularity with an offer designed to fundamentally change the lives of its athletes. This is the new money players have been demanding as viewership and merchandise sales have skyrocketed. And yet the message from the WNBPA, the players' union, has been a firm hold. After 2 extensions, the January 9, 2026 deadline passed without a new agreement. The CBA expired, and both sides entered a status quo period, agreeing to a moratorium on free agency while talks continue. The players are being told to risk it all. Why? The union says it's about getting an even better deal. But to understand the real forces at play, you have to look closer at who exactly is leading the charge. The voice urging players to hold the line loudest belongs to Breanna Stewart. Stewie is one of the most decorated players in the game, a multiple-time MVP champion and a face of the WNBA. She is also, critically, a vice president on the WNBPA's executive committee, with a duty to represent the best interests of all players. But Breanna Stewart wears another hat, a much more lucrative one. She is the co-founder, co-owner, and star player of a new flashy 3-on-3 basketball league called Unrivaled. Launched in the WNBA offseason, Unrivaled is not some minor side project. It's a direct competitor for talent, attention, and sponsors. Backed by investors like Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe, the league made a splash with a clear mission: pay players what they're worth. In its first season, Unrivaled reportedly offered players a minimum six-figure salary for just 8 weeks of play. To put that in perspective, the average salary in Unrivaled for a 2-month season was reportedly higher than the maximum salary a WNBA player could earn for a full year under the old CBA. The league also offers players something the WNBA doesn't: equity. Players in Unrivaled are part owners, poised to profit directly from the league's success. Here's where the situation gets complicated. Breanna Stewart, a key union leader negotiating the financial future of the WNBA, has a massive vested financial interest in a rival league. Let's be clear about the dynamic this creates. If the WNBA were to enter a prolonged lockout or strike, who benefits? Unrivaled. It would instantly become the only game in town for elite women's basketball in the US. Players deprived of their WNBA paychecks would have a powerful incentive to join Stewart's league. A WNBA work stoppage is arguably the single best-case scenario for Unrivaled's business plan. Stewart and her Unrivaled co-founder, fellow WNBA star and WNBA Vice President Nafisa Collier, have publicly denied any conflict of interest. Stewart has stated she believes the two leagues can coexist and that WNBA leadership would have informed her if it was an issue. But the facts on the ground tell a different story. Unrivaled is actively signing WNBA talent, reportedly including incoming rookie phenom Paige Buchers. The conflict isn't just theoretical, it's operational. As a WNBPA executive, Stewart is privy to the union's entire negotiation strategy. At the same time, as the owner of Unrivaled, she has an incentive to see those negotiations fail, or at least drag on long enough to create instability her own league can exploit. She is quite literally sitting on both sides of the table. While she publicly preaches solidarity and encourages players to turn down guaranteed millions from the WNBA, she is privately building a safety net for herself and a select few. This raises fundamental questions of governance and trust. How can rank-and-file WNBA players who don't have equity in a competing league trust that their leadership is negotiating in good faith? As the January 9th deadline passed, the negotiations entered a tense new phase. The old CBA expired, and the league and the union entered a status quo period, agreeing to halt free agency while talks continue. This move highlights the chasm that remains between the two sides. So what's the actual sticking point? It seems to boil down to revenue sharing. The disagreement is over how to calculate the players' piece of the league's booming revenue. The union has reportedly proposed that players get around 30% of the league's gross revenue, the total money coming in before expenses. The WNBA, on the other hand, has offered players in excess of 70% of the league's net revenue. This is a crucial distinction. The league's proposal means that after all operating costs are paid, things like charter flights, facility upgrades, and salaries, the players would get the lion's share of the remaining profit. The union's argument is that a gross revenue model provides more certainty, arguing a net model is too opaque and could allow the league to inflate expenses to minimize profits shared with players. WNBA Executive Director Terry Jackson has stated that players wouldn't have opted out of the old CBA, which gave them less than 10% of revenue, just to agree to a new system that gives them less than 15%. The league's counterargument is about financial sustainability. They contend that a high percentage of gross revenue could bankrupt a league that, despite its recent growth, has a long history of losing money. Their net revenue proposal, they argue, incentivizes a true partnership. If the league becomes profitable, the players will reap massive rewards. Offer of a $1 million base salary is their way of providing a high guaranteed floor, while the profit sharing offers a higher ceiling. This technical dispute has spilled into a public relations battle. Early on, sympathy was squarely with the players. The narrative was simple: female athletes are underpaid. But as details of the league's massive offer have leaked, some fans are now wondering why they would risk the league's momentum over a dispute about gross versus net revenue, especially when life-changing guaranteed money is on the table. The league is betting that the sheer transformative power of the money they've offered will eventually fracture that solidarity, especially when the players with the least are being asked to sacrifice the most by leaders who have the least to lose. There's a giant, 6-foot-tall elephant in the room, and her name is Caitlin Clark, The entire economic landscape of the WNBA was fundamentally altered the moment she was drafted. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just media hype, it's a quantifiable economic phenomenon. Her presence has led to shattered viewership records, sellout crowds, and an explosion in merchandise sales. One financial expert even estimated that in her rookie season, Clark was responsible for over 25% of the entire league's economic activity. And she's not alone. A transcendent rookie class, including Angel Reese and others, has created a new constellation of stars that fans are desperate to see. The arrival of UConn's Paige Buchers only amplified this effect. These young players are the engine of the WNBA's current boom. Now here's the most critical piece of leverage. These superstars, the very players driving the new revenue, are all on dirt-cheap rookie-scale contracts. Caitlin Clark's base salary in her rookie year was just over $76,000. While she makes millions in endorsements, her official league salary is a pittance compared to the value she generates. The same is true for the other young stars. The league's proposal even includes a special provision to pay these young stars nearly double the league minimum, a clear acknowledgement of their outsized impact. This creates a nuclear option for the owners. The veteran players on the WNBPA's executive committee, who are leading the charge to hold out, are implicitly threatening a work stoppage. They believe that without them, the league can't function. But the cold, hard business reality is that they might be wrong. The owners could, theoretically, call their bluff. They could field a league composed almost entirely of the wildly popular young stars still on their rookie deals and fill the remaining spots with international prospects willing to play for the new handsome minimum salary. Would the quality of play suffer? Marginally, perhaps, but would the casual fan tuning in specifically to watch Caitlin Clark even notice or care? Ratings are driven by star power, and the league's biggest stars are contractually obligated to play for pennies on the dollar for the next couple of years. This gives the owners an almost unimaginable amount of leverage. They can afford to wait. They can withstand a standoff because their primary revenue drivers are already locked in at bargain bin prices. This reality creates a deep, unspoken fissure within the union itself. Underneath the glitter of the WNBA's current boom lies a sobering financial history. For nearly its entire existence, the WNBA has not been a profitable business. This isn't just an owner's talking point, it's a well-documented financial fact. The league has consistently lost money. In 2018, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver noted the WNBA lost over $10 million annually on average. Even with the Caitlin Clark effect in 2024, the league was reportedly projected to lose $40 million. How has a league that loses tens of millions of dollars a year survived for almost 3 decades? The answer is simple: the NBA. The men's league has served as the WNBA's financial lifeline, subsidizing its operations with about $15 million or more annually. The NBA and its owners have a controlling interest of over 60% in the women's league, and this subsidy has been its life support. This history is crucial context for the owners' negotiating position. When they look at the demand for 30% of gross revenue, they likely see a figure that could balloon the league's annual losses to an unsustainable level. Their proposal of sharing over 70% of net profits is rooted in this reality. It's a framework that says, we will continue to cover the massive operational costs and absorb the losses. But once we finally cross into profitability, a goal that is now tantalizingly close, we will give you, the players, the vast majority of those profits. The Players' Union, however, has shown little interest in acknowledging this history. Their public statements focus solely on the new revenue pouring in. They rightfully see this as money generated by their labor and demand their share, but this narrative often omits the other side of the ledger, the decades of expenses and subsidies that kept the league afloat. It paints a picture of greedy owners hoarding profits that for most of the league's history simply haven't existed. This fundamental disconnect, the players focusing on new revenue, the owners on historical losses and future stability, is at the very heart of why the two sides remain so far apart. As the standoff drags on, both sides have powerful cards they could play. The WNBPA holds the power to call a strike. In December of 2025, an overwhelming 98% of players who voted authorized the union's executive committee to call a strike when necessary. This was a powerful show of solidarity, giving leaders like Breanna Stewart the ultimate leverage. A strike would be a bet that the owners can't afford to let their arenas sit empty, especially now. The hope is that the financial pressure would force the owners back to the table with a better offer. However, as we've discussed, the owners hold a nuclear option of their own: replacement players. The unique situation of having the league's most marketable stars locked into low-cost rookie deals means the owners could potentially weather a strike by veteran players. A league featuring Clark, Reese, and Bookers would still be a highly marketable product. A strike could result not in a better deal, but in many veteran players finding themselves replaced. This high-stakes environment is creating visible cracks in player unity. While the strike authorization vote was nearly unanimous, that was a vote of confidence in the abstract. It's another thing entirely when a player is looking at a contract that would instantly increase her salary from $70,000 to over $225,000 and being told by her union to reject it. The longer the negotiations stall, the more this abstract principle of solidarity clashes with the concrete reality of providing for one's family. This is where the conflict of interest involving Breanna Stewart and Unrivaled becomes so corrosive. A player being asked to make this immense sacrifice knows that her union vice president isn't making the same sacrifice. Stewart's financial future is secure, buoyed by her ownership stake in a rival league that only stands to profit from the WNBA's turmoil. Every day the WNBA is in chaos is another day Unrivaled can market itself as the stable, high-paying alternative. The union is supposed to be a sisterhood, but when its leaders have a golden parachute that the members do not, trust inevitably erodes. The endgame is rapidly approaching. The league has put a transformative financial package on the table. The union, led by an executive with a glaring conflict of interest, has advised its members to hold out for more. The owners possess the leverage of the wildly popular rookie class, and the average player is caught in the middle. The first player who breaks ranks and signs an offer could trigger a domino effect. The question is no longer if someone will break, but when. We are at a defining moment for the WNBA. The league has finally arrived, carried to new heights on the shoulders of transcendent young talent. The reward for that arrival, a landmark CBA promising unprecedented financial security for its players, is sitting on the table, waiting to be signed. Yet the players are in a perilous position, being told to walk away from this historic payday by a union leadership whose motives are, at best, complicated, and at worst, deeply compromised. The simple narrative of greedy owners versus exploited players has been shattered by the details of the league's offer and the undeniable conflict of interest at the heart of the players' union. This is a far more complex struggle between veterans seeking their due and a new guard of rookies who hold all the economic power. It's a test of solidarity versus self-interest, with hundreds of millions of dollars in the balance. And casting a long shadow over it all is Unrivaled, a league that acts as both a potential safe harbor and a convenient escape hatch for a leader asking others to take a risk she herself does not have to. The power has shifted. It no longer belongs only to the collective, but to the individual. It belongs to the journeyman player deciding if a principal is worth more than a house. It belongs to the rookie phenom whose low salary gives the owners immense leverage, and it belongs to the star player who is playing a game on two separate courts at once. The coming weeks will determine the future of the WNBA. Will the players' solidarity hold, or will the sheer weight of the guaranteed money break the union's ranks? What do you think? Who holds the real power in this negotiation, and who do you think will blink first? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this gave you a new perspective on this critical moment in sports, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the business of basketball. The fallout from this negotiation will shape women's sports for a generation to come, and you won't want to miss what happens next.